there we are. This is the Triple Play Fantasy Basketball Show. Proud member of Fantasy Points Media Group. I'm your host, Coach James Lewis. Man, and I am happy. I'm enthusiastic. I got my OG crew back here, and 'tis the season to be thankful. Gonna show some love, throw some flowers, appreciate those who are in need. And we got a big Thanksgiving special. We're going to give a lot of thanks and probably sprinkle in some hate just because this is the OG crew, and that's kind of how we roll. So speaking of OG, I'm going to go to the oldest of G's, and that is Kevin at DuBois_22 Coleman. How you doing, even though your Cowboys are crippling?
Hey, that was a shot.
I mean,
you didn't even take.
already.
I'm doing pretty well, just hanging out, had a good Thanksgiving, getting over a little cold, but everything's doing pretty well. And, just excited to talk a little basketball. I'm probably going to be the Debbie Downer of the group today, but that's okay.
We all need one of those.
Wait, what else is new?
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to be with you, Doc, again. I've missed you.
I miss you too, Kev.
And you heard the voice. Eric, the Doc, Mendelson. We don't know what he was doing at 2 a.m. last night, but here he is. He made it.
Bro, I was sleeping. I had a buddy since I haven't talked to high school called me at 2:45 and said I need to talk to. I still don't know what he needs. So, I don't know.
You heard it. It was a desperation, though.
It was a guy, too, so it wasn't even like it was a booty call.
You never know these days. With that said, Brad, Kilmore, Drummond, what's up, buddy?
Can't complain, man. Ready to get it started.
All right, and you heard him. And he's at Sir Bradley K on Twitter. He does a lot of the behind the scenes, but he is one of our strongest personalities here on Triple Play Fantasy Basketball. And man, I missed you guys. Quarter of the NBA season is nearing, and we are in a joyous, thankful mood over here. Let's get right into it. We're talking about stars, NBA stars, the star player that you need to show flowers to and deserves more love than everyone else. I'm going to let Doc lead off with a Brad piggyback because it's the same guy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm starting off with Steph Curry. I mean, it's funny because we had Nick Whalen on the other day, and we were saying that he's the MVP. We knew the Warriors were going to bounce back a little bit. Vegas had them pegged for 47.5 wins was the over-under line, but they've just been playing really well. They're 15-2 this year. And I mean, how many times can you say that you're thankful that you saw the best at someone? There's the whole debate about, is LeBron the GOAT? Is Jordan the GOAT? I don't think people are arguing that there's a better shooter than Stephen Curry.
Especially when he has got more threes than anyone else. Right?
Yeah, he breaks his own records year after year. He can drop 50 any given game. So just to be thankful that we can see the best shooter of our lifetime or the history of the NBA, I think it's pretty incredible. So I'm very thankful for that.
Brad, you want to speak a little bit about Steph Curry's brilliance on the basketball court?
Yeah, man. I like Doc said, we were talking about this on a recent episode, and I think the Warriors have been the biggest surprise of this season, and I think that's in large part because Steph has been carrying the team, and they had Steph and Draymond last year, and they finished with a 14th in the league in net rating, 5th in defensive rating, 19th in offensive rating, and this year they still have Steph and Draymond, but we've seen Jordan Poole step up, Kevon Looney step up, Lee step up, Bielitsa, Otto Porter, all of them have either taken steps or added an element to the team that they didn't have last year. and Steph has really been the anchor and all that. And I think it's only going to improve when Clay gets back. So I think there's not a lot of people in the MVP race that you can say have had a better year or a more impactful year than Steph. And I think it's just because he's been so solid and so dependable all year.
It's funny because like 2 pods ago on the fantasy pod, I mentioned that Steph Curry had 35 games with at least 9 3-pointers made. I think he's already up to 40, and the next closest person is at 8, and that's Damian Lillard. That's just, it's silly. It really is silly. Kev,
it feels like his release is getting quicker too.
So you can't go under that.
It's crazy to watch.
It really is, and I know people, they camp out hours before the game to watch his shooting drills, and because what he's doing is unlike any other human. I know, Brad, you said maybe in 20 years somebody comes around. I don't know if this will ever be repeated. It's amazing. Kev, you got a star that you want to give some love to that maybe isn't getting too much love around the league?
Yeah, I mean, kind of. I like Karl-Anthony Towns for this. I know Steph's killing it. And, shout out to Jordan Poole. I know you guys mentioned him. He's playing very well right now and filling in and when they get Clay back, Jesus. But Karl-Anthony Towns, with what he's done, the thing about him, his numbers aren't like what he did a couple years ago, but he's playing within himself. The Timberwolves are playing better. He's 22-9-3, but the thing I like is that his player efficiency rating is 18th in the league. That's the highest he's ever had. So he's playing better basketball in terms of just team basketball. You see it out there. I know there's some turmoil in that Timberwolves franchise, like always, but he seems to just, he shows up to work. He's shooting 44% from three-point land this year, so we've seen kind of an improvement there. I think he's playing very well within himself, and I just wanted to give him a shout out, especially after what happened with his mom last year and everything that's kind of done. I mean, he stayed in that franchise, and he said, "Hey, we're going to try to make this work." And so far, it's working. I mean, it's tough, Western Conference, but shout out to him playing pretty well.
And that team in general is playing 500 basketball, which, at the beginning of the season, not a lot of people pegged that. Yeah, they were terrible last year. And
we got to talk about Karl-Anthony Towns' turnovers, though. He's averaging 3.5 per game. Like, he's had some ugly games, 7 turnovers, 6 turnovers. Like, he's getting a little careless with the ball. Kevin, I'm with you that he's a stud, and especially everything that he's bounced back from. But those amount of turnovers for a big man are very alarming.
He's also playing like really weak in the post. Like he'll have a smaller matchup and you'll see him just fade away instead of like go at the rim. Like he's kind of annoying to watch recently.
Do you see him when he gets double teamed? His little side passes, it's weak. Like they take forever to get to.
This is supposed to be a thankful podcast.
It's the OGs on. Did you think that there was going to be no debates on here? Come on, man.
I'm just saying he's playing better. Okay. You know what? His player.
We're gonna follow.
Better.
I'm thankful for Anthony Edwards on that team.
How about we follow Steph Curry up with Karl-Anthony Towns? Anthony Edwards needs to get more love here. I agree with Brad.
I quit. I don't even know why I agreed to come on the show with you guys. Hey, he's playing well. He is playing well. Is one of the best in the NBA right now, and he's got that team at 99, which a lot of people thought they were going to be one of the worst teams in the West. So I'm giving him a shout out because it's my damn pick.
Yep,
it's a good point.
Shout out Ant, the funniest man in the league, averaging 22, 7 rebounds, which is crazy, 3 assists. My guy. Dang it. I almost caught myself. Might be the best player in the NBA. Giannis Antetokounmpo is going for greatest power forward of all time. Yeah, he's got a long way to go, but at age 26, you got 2 league MVPs. You got a defensive player of the year. You win finals MVP. You drop a 50 spot on a closeout game. He's only getting better. He's getting better at dishing it out. You see a slight uptick in his 3-pointers made every single year, and now he's playing with a Bobby Portis. Lopez goes down, and they couldn't share the court last year. And now it's a beautiful combination. He's the number 1 player in fantasy basketball. I'm proud to have him on my team. So I got to give flowers to Giannis, if he's not, you can make the argument that he's the best player in today's game. He just dominates on both sides of the floor. And he just seems to get a little bit smarter, a little bit better each and every year, even though his statistics are very similar to where they were last year. He averages 27 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists. So in his game against Anthony Davis was spectacular. 18 of 23 from the field, 47 on his head. I've never seen Anthony Davis look like he's got dominated, but he got dominated by Giannis.
Did you see the story that our boy Matt Sullivan was breaking about him from the
No, but
finals
I'm
last
going
year?
to be locked in on it. You got any intel? Any tidbits?
So he said that there's a possibility that he caught COVID last year during the finals, because if you remember, his brother caught it as well.
Yeah.
And the NBA just let him play.
Holy! If this
juicy.
is true,
It's
if this
pretty
is
juicy.
true, man, shout out
But
Matt Sullivan because he's
there's
one
no
of
way
our
to there's no
renowned
way to
guests.
find that out though or verify it.
There's
Because it's
Brad is stirring the pot.
it's not me. It's Matt Sullivan. I'm just saying it's very interesting.
All right, hey Brad. So who's your breakout player? Somebody we weren't expecting to be cooking like this, but it's just take the league by storm.
All right, I'm gonna go with Tyrese Maxey for this one. So the Sixers, they've had a lot of injuries. They had Embiid out with COVID for longer than expected. Tobias Harris was out for a while. There's just they had a need of scorers, and they had a need of somebody who could, provide a baseline of consistency for them. And Tyrese Maxey's been that guy. He's averaging 35 and a half minutes on the year. That's absurd from the jump. Like I thought he would be a dude off the bench to get buckets. He's doing 35 and a half minutes. He's averaging 19 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists. His last 5 games, he's had 19, 24, 28, and 22. He's able to get those assists when necessary. He's got 9, 4, 5, and 4. He's able to get a few rebounds. He pretty much just does whatever they need from him. And he's somebody that I've always thought he was talented. I just didn't know he'd take that step this quickly, and I didn't know he'd have to take that step this quickly. And he's done both, and he's just really impressed me.
And shooting 50% from the field on that usage is just insane. And it makes you rethink the Ben Simmons trade options because you're thinking you need a guard and a closer, and he's providing some of that. Maybe you got to go at a different angle here. But yeah, he's been remarkable. He's helped the Philly sustain success in their top 4 team in the Eastern Conference, much in part to him stepping up and holding it down. So I definitely think that he's a candidate for most improved player, and he's definitely a breakout player that we can all appreciate, especially only in his second year. And he only was in college 1 year. So shout out
baby.
One Kentucky guy to another. And Kev, I'll let you take the lead on this breakout performance.
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk about him. And Maxey's a great pick too, though. I will say, I saw something funny on Twitter. They said, "Man, Maxey's already improved more than Simmons ever has in his whole career." And
yeah,
that was pretty.
It's funny. True. It's actually a true statement. It's just
Simmons started way higher.
Yeah, exactly.
My guy's Tyler Herro, and you know what? You gotta give him a shout out right now. He's 21, 5 and 3. He's got that Heat team. They're playing pretty well, and I like Tyler. And I think especially after last year, what we saw. He didn't have a great year. We know that, and kind of where you look, but he's been super efficient. He dropped 31 against Detroit recently. Washington, all those games he's played, pretty efficient, shooting 45% from the field, getting up there, and his 3-point percentage is at 40% too. So when you look at him and what he's been able to do, he's a big part of that Heat team. If the Heat want to win a championship, they got to have Tyler Herro.
Yeah,
absolutely. And this was my guy too, Tyler Herro. There aren't many white basketball players that are American that are good at basketball, and for him to kind of drop off a little bit after dropping 37 at Boston in Eastern Conference Finals, taking his team to this final, he averaged 15 last year. He has increased his scoring to 21. That's 6 points a game, and he's closing games out in the fourth. They're giving it to him, win or lose. They're putting the ball in his hands. Jimmy's trusting him. Bam's trusting him. So.
Coach,
Tyler Herro's my guy. Yeah,
we gotta change the intro to this show from you saying LeBron's better than MJ to Tyler Herro is the great white hope.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
It's Chet Holmgren, but still, he's helping a little bit. All right, so Tyler Herro love and Miami Heat love. I'll talk about them a little bit in a second. To Doc, who is the #1 member of the Jarrett Allen wagon, whatever you want to call it. He's called it. He told him to pay him $100 million. He got $100 million. He's breaking out. So Doc, you've actually been you've played a little Brad Strajamis role in predicting Jarrett Allen's breakout, but you got to be thankful that he's actually producing at a high level.
Yeah, I mean, I'll maybe put number 2. There's a guy that dedicated his Twitter to Jarrett Allen. He's an honest Jarrett Allen stan, so I'll maybe say that he's number 1. But averaging career high in points at 15.3, 11.2 rebounds, which are a career high. He's shooting 68.5% from the floor. That's crazy. What? He's having a lot of 9 of 10, 7 of 8 games. I will say I'm a little disappointed in his free throw percentage. It's a career low at 62.3, and he's not averaging a block a game. So even though he's having a career high in minutes, I'd like to see that increase a little bit more. But, you know, there was talk about how is he going to fit with Evan Mobley, with Lauri Markkanen. Unfortunately, both of those have been injured right now. And Jarrett Allen had his own illness, but he's looked really good this year. And the fact that he's only $20 million a year is such good value.
In a
wink, Brad.
Yeah.
And on the way out for breakout players, the guy that both me and Doc are stands of, and that is Cole Anthony, who just went down with a little sprained ankle, but at this point in the season, 20 points a game, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. He's one of only 3 players in the NBA doing that. Three pointers a game and 1 steal. And they had questions on his 3-point shooting ability, but he's put that Orlando Magic team on his back. And I thought Jalen Suggs was the best player on that team. But no, it's clear cut that Cole Anthony is running that team. And man, the swagger of a prime Michael Jordan.
He's also not afraid to ratio people on Twitter. So we got to give him a shout out for that.
He's got cojones. So
I love it.
What do you think happens with Fultz?
He's career backup at this point. He got a paycheck. He got a 3-year, $50 million extension coming off a torn ACL. I felt like the Magic, as a rebuilding team, are the only ones that take a flyer on him. I can't imagine him having a starting role elsewhere.
I think he's got to go shoot for the 6-man position. I don't think that they should shake up that starting
what Derrick Rose is now as a resurgence. Like be a scorer off the bench.
And he's a smart basketball player. He doesn't just need the basketball in his hands to contribute. He can rebound a little bit.
He's just so young, man.
He's still young.
So early.
And with Jalen Suggs starting this entire year, I know he's still a rookie, but he's finding his ground. He's playing a little bit better each and every game. And you got him and Franz both being rookies starting this whole season. I think with him and Cole, you ease Fultz in as a backup. Plus, he's coming back from a 20 ACL. You don't want to just throw him into the fire. I think bench for me.
Hey, shout out to Orlando though. When Jonathan Isaac comes back and they kind of have that young crew there, that's exciting for them. I mean, Orlando's had shitty teams, even with Dwight. But
poor Jonathan Isaac.
Again, shout out to Mo Bamba.
They said that he's had some setbacks too. And Jonathan Isaac has so potential. He had defensive player of the year potential when he was
outside
rolling.
Gary Harris, who's on the last year of his contract. Jonathan Isaac and Markelle Fultz are the highest paid player for the Magic, and they're not even playing.
I'm telling, between Orlando and Houston, they've done a great job putting talent on their rosters after a rebuild. I'm really impressed with both of those front offices.
Man, you will not let this Houston Rockets thing go.
Listen, man, I'm telling you. I'm not even gonna hold up the pod. Continue.
All right, cool. From bad teams to good teams. What overall team are we most thankful to visually watch? Doc, I'm gonna let you lead it off.
So for me, it's got to be the Chicago Bulls. I mean, they're coming into the year. They might have the best 1 through 5. Like you look at healthy Lonzo Ball, DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, Vucevic, Patrick Williams. I know is out for the season, but they look real. And especially DeRozan. I think a lot of people wrote him off, kind of thinking is like, oh, he's just a mid-range scorer. But he's really facilitated this year. He's played really good defense. They're 13-7, which is 2 in the East. They're 6-3 at home, 7-4 on the road. So they get it done on both sides, averaging 103.8 allowed per game, which is in the top tier. They're just exciting to watch. And especially if you bet on their over 42.5 wins like I did, you're feeling pretty good about that right now. That was the main point, and I had to save it for the end.
Yeah, Doc loves
How many bets you have out right now, Doc?
Too many. Yeah. But I'm winning a lot of them. So that's where, if you're profitable, you can't complain.
And you should have went over on the Wizards, Brad.
I should have.
What's your take? on an overall team that you're most thankful for?
You said it. It's the Wizards. That's my hometown squad. It's the team I grew up watching, and it's a team I still, they're my primary team I root for today. And it's interesting because when they traded Russ, I kind of thought that was the beginning of a teardown. You trade a Hall of Famer for essentially pieces that the team you're trading for didn't even want. They weren't even using Kuzma. They weren't using Trez. The Brooklyn wasn't really using Spencer, so it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Brad Beal, but they're winning right now. We're talking about a team that's fourth in the East right now. So they've been fun to watch. It's been beautiful to watch their offense under Wes Unseld. Everybody's moving without the ball. It's not just hand it to Brad and watch him go. So I'm really thankful that this team is actually competitive because I didn't think they were going to be. So it's got to be the Wizards for me.
Yeah, and I think that we all smile as far as me and Doc as well, being Wizards fans. It's been enjoyable watching this team, a lot more enjoyable than last year. Seems like every game's going down to the wire, and to have a new nucleus group finishing out games in the clutch is amazing. It's also nice to see the Capital One Center going crazy, especially no fans last year. They're packing out, and we've seen that in the past with the Wizards. When they win, they get good fans. When they're not winning, it's a ghost town. No one's there. So the Wizards are, 13-7, and they're going to hit that over number, and they're playing really good basketball, and it's very enjoyable to watch. Kev, I want you to talk about your team, which, hey, on the low, this might be the best team in the NBA.
Yeah, Phoenix Suns 16-3, 15 straight win recently. I think the reason why I picked them is just because I didn't know what to expect from them this year. Last year they had a great season. Could they bounce back? Have you seen it? I know the Ayton contract was a big deal, and they were pretty upset about that. So, what happens there? But I think the reality of it is, Devin Booker is that dude, right? I mean, he's averaging 23 points right now. He's phenomenal, and he's kind of leading that team, and he's showing them what they have. Chris Paul, he gives me hope as someone who's old because he is straight balling right now. 10 assists, 2 steals. And, even like JaVale McGee's in there. He's blocking shots. He's doing those things. I love Mikal Bridges. Ayton's playing very good. Like, and you look at what he's doing, he's a second leading scorer on that team now. He's kind of elevating himself and, 11 rebounds a game. So you like to see that from him. I like their pieces that they have in there. They're playing very well. And what's crazy is that they're 16-3, but they're also second in the Pacific because the Golden State is 17-2. So like that's going to be a fun battle down the stretch because we know Chris Paul hates every Warrior and they hate each other. So that's going to be a fun little kind of battle as we see it going down there. But shout out to Booker. I really wish they would have won the title last year because I like Paul and I like that area, but they're back in it. They're right in the mix of things, and they're better than the Lakers. They're better than these teams that we have it. They're the mainstay.
Yeah,
It's
Kev,
crazy
they're making a
too.
mistake. Kev, do you think they're making a mistake not paying Ayton?
I don't know. Yeah, probably. I think they got to pay them. I think they will at some point. You have to hope that they do, but maybe they see their window as being really short, right? Like maybe Chris Paul. They're looking at it like, hey, do we want to really invest that money into Ayton when we maybe should go get another superstar around Booker? I think you got to pay him, but I do think that Ayton's playing great, but in the playoffs, does Ayton matter as much as another guy that maybe they can get in free agency?
What I think is crazy about this 15-game win streak, like the whole thing, the investigation with Robert Sarver, the owner, is going on. Like we've seen how this can derail teams like the Clippers in the past with the whole Donald Sterling thing. And the Suns have kind of just brushed it aside and are playing the best basketball, probably besides that playoff stretch that they have in the last decade.
And Chris Paul has dealt with this before. He was on that Clipper team with Don Sterling, and we hadn't mentioned him as part of this whole Suns thing. But I mean, you got to give a shout out to a guy that's third all time in assists and is at 37. Playing some of his most efficient basketball of his career. We saw the type of play he had in the playoffs up until the finals. It was just spectacular. It was clearly the leader of that team, and this isn't a fluke, as Kevin mentioned. Like we were saying, maybe last year because of injuries and benefits. That is it a fluke? But they come back and they play great on both ends. And yes, the DeAndre Ayton thing will be in the air, but at least they're going to go through this entire year and figure that out another time. My team that I'm thankful of is the Miami Heat, who just were in the NBA Finals 2 years ago. You add a Kyle Lowry, you have a resurgence from a Tyler Herro. You add a PJ Tucker who fits the culture of this team. So I'm kind of tying in a team and a coach as well, as Spoelstra has 618 wins, which is 26 all time. He's been to 5 Eastern Conference Finals, or he's won 5 Eastern Conference Finals and won 2 NBA championships. So Spoelstra is one of our best coaches. That's kind of a preview of the, thankful of this coach. He is a chemistry king, and they have the makeup to come out of the Eastern Conference. They are tough, and then each and every night you check the box scores. 4 guys in the starting lineup all have 5+ assists. They're moving the basketball very well, and then they're not backing down to anybody. And they can switch every position. And then you bring in the sniper Tyler off the bench. Who knows what happens with Oladipo down the line. Like, this is a damn good 8 deep team that is built for the playoffs. So I've loved watching the Miami Heat. They're 13-7. That's 3rd in the Eastern Conference right now. But they are a very dangerous team in the Eastern Conference.
They just lost to the Timberwolves. Just thought I'd throw that.
The T-Wolves aren't the T-Wolves of last year.
I'm just saying. I'm just. You were shitting on my pick earlier, so I'm just letting you know that my pick beat your team of destiny.
That's funny though. The Heat can lose to anybody. They can beat anybody, but they can't lose to anybody. So, yeah.
We got that rematch Monday of them versus Denver.
Oh yes.
So, talking about some old guys, maybe some young guys, rookies. The rookie class is so special. But we want to give some extra flowers to certain rookies in particular. Kev, I'm gonna let you lead off with a guy that, hey, maybe he should have went number 1 overall.
Yeah, Evan Mobley, right? We talked about him on the Coaches, Corner podcast, and we broke down highlights and film. And I said I really like this kid, and he's doing well. 14-8-2. He has a super high per. You look at what he's been able to do. He's fit in really well out there. I know right now he's out, but I just wanted to make sure I gave him a shout out. Through 15 games, he's probably he was probably rookie of the year. As long as he can come back and he's healthy and he's there, he's gonna compete for that spot. And I think that the Cavs did an excellent job building around their guys now. Like Garland, Mobley, these guys there, they've done pretty good in free agency. If they can get everybody healthy, you're looking at a pretty solid team there. And Mobley's a big part of that. He does a lot of little things, rebounding, blocks, tips, those type of things. And they're competing in the Central. I mean, they're 9-10 right now. I know they've got a losing streak here. And part of that is because Mobley hasn't been in.
Oh, yeah.
So, shout out to Mobley for what he's been able to do on that roster. And I mean, realistically, yeah, he's one of the top 3. This class is going to be solid. We talked about that before. Like, this class has superstars in it. Like, no matter where you look, there's going to be guys who are like, man, I can't believe he went that low and how good he is. So, yeah, and Mobley could be the best one. And that's what's funny and scary about it.
Yeah, he affects winning. He plays well on both ends. He's shooting a high percentage, he's blocking everything, getting steals. And him and Darius Garland have a synergy. And those are 2 corner pieces of their franchise going forward. We all know that they'll move on from Colin Sexton, and some of these other pieces are interchangeable. But when you have a guard that's as dynamic as Darius is, as far as playmaking and shooting is concerned, and then you have a big man that affects both ends like Evan Mobley, you're in good hands. And hey, Jarrett Allen's still there on his $100 million for 5 years. So shout out Evan Mobley, who is the leading candidate for rookie year, even though with this injury right now.
Shout out to Doc, by the way, because I was somebody who didn't really understand how Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley were going to work. I thought it was going to be them like clogging up the lane, but they're both fluid and they kind of stretch the floor a little bit. They're not, they'll play out on the wing a little bit. Evan Mobley's more of a rim runner. It's just
his shooting ability is more impressive too than he got credit for. He's got a pretty smooth stroke. You don't want to leave him wide open, and I think his playmaking, his ability to have the basketball and play a guard big man makes it work. But yeah, Doc definitely saw that
he did
off
see
break.
that.
I would, when I saw the roster and they had 6 centers, I was scratching my head like how can you play all of them?
It goes to show, like, if you're picking guys with high basketball IQ, like, just take the best player and you'll figure it out.
I think if you're
absolutely,
I think if you're a piece away from a championship, you go where the strongest position where you need. But a Cavs team that's like rebuilding or they don't have championship aspirations, like that's why I was always a believer in you take the best player available and you kind of let the lineups figure it out themselves. And especially now that they don't have Jim Beeline anymore, I think that was an awful head coaching decision. You kind of have a little bit younger team and you kind of just let the pieces flow and see who works and who doesn't.
That was an awful hire.
It's awful.
Definitely. Absolutely. All right. Doc, since you got the mic, I want you to roll with our next guy.
Yeah, so I'm loving Scottie Barnes this year. I know that there was a lot of kind of head scratching at 4. A lot of people were, kind of making the Patrick Williams comparison of an overdrafted Florida State player that's just raw. I know that a lot of people are expecting Jalen Suggs too. And you look at his stats; he's averaging 15 points a game, 8.3 rebounds, 3.3 assists, a steal, and about half a block. But if you watch the Raptors games, I actually think he went to the perfect team because they didn't have Pascal Siakam the first like 8-10 games, and they were winning. And part of the reason is Nick Nurse's coaching style. Like I don't think of a team that hustles more than the Raptors, that does things like takes charges, that goes after loose balls, that if a ball is going after out of bounds, they try to throw it off the nearest defender. Things that don't appear in the box score, but coaches notice, or people that are fans of the game or watch the team notice. So I feel like he had a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. I know he probably heard the rumblings of people saying he was overdrafted, and I mean, he has certainly looked the part. I think everybody thought it was going to be Cade or Jalen who wins Rookie of the Year, and we realized that this is a deeper class than we anticipated.
Absolutely.
Hold on. Did you just bust out they take charges? You call me old and talk about basketball, and you're like, oh, they take charges. They do all the things you don't see in the box score. Is that what you just busted out?
Yeah, they take. What coach doesn't love when somebody takes a charge? Like, so many people are like, it's a business decision. I'm getting out the way.
No, I mean, that's fair. I just think it's funny it comes from you and not me.
I mean, Kevin, would you play a guy more if you're like, all right, he's going to take a charge?
I play guys that score, Doc. That's my job. I think they gotta be able to score first. I like the plucky guy that takes a charge, sure, but he's
what if a guy he defends? What if this guy's a Ben Simmons? Okay, he can't shoot the ball, but he can handle the ball. He can pass. He can rebound. He takes charges, plays defense. You're not going to play him?
No, of course I'll play him. But I mean, Ben Simmons and that type of player is fine. Yeah, but if all you can do is take a charge, your ass can just give me water. Like, there's no hey,
if your specialty is taking charges, I don't know how you're playing basketball in the first place.
Man, I broke my nose taking a charge as JV sophomore year under the basket. Yeah, that sucked. Scottie Barnes, though, since we're sharing thanks and we're being thankful, his enthusiasm, his passion, his vigor, his intensity, all of those things are things that you look in basketball players, and then you go from guarding James Harden to KD in the same sequence and locking it up. You get in a rebound, you take 2 dribbles and you're dunking it. Like, there is something to be thankful about Scottie Barnes and what he's bringing to the game of basketball, and Toronto, who, not necessarily everybody was really wanting to keep their eyes and watch those games on the league pass, but he's made them very watchable and exciting and can play with anybody.
He's also averaging 35.2 minutes per game, which is the most for a rookie. So he's getting the highest usage out of anyone, which I love.
And to the wild card, Brad, I want you to lead the way on this. I don't even know what you probably have a good adjective to call this kid from the land down under.
A good adjective to call him. I'd say versatile, maybe. So I'm picking Josh Giddey, as you alluded to. One of the things that I loved about him was that he was the youngest pick in the draft, and that he's played pro ball. And on top of that, they already have Shea, and he's a more natural shooting guard or 3 than he was a point guard. So by drafting Josh Giddey and allowing him to develop in this role, it's really freed up Shea to have better shots. It's freed him up to have better matchups defensively. It's really just freed up the entire offense. So he's a guy that has played, or he is averaging 30 minutes a game this season, 11 points, 6 assists, and 7 boards, and he's still 19 years old. So we're talking about a guy that, as he develops 2 years from now, maybe 3 years from now, he's a Russell Westbrook type where he's going to average a triple-double. Like, he's that kind of usage rate. He's just got a great feel for the game. He knows when to pass. He knows the right pass to make. His shooting's coming along. He's averaging 1-3 a game, but that's going to go up over time. He's averaging a steal a game, a half a block. Like, he just really does it all. So he's somebody that I consider very versatile, and he really frees up that offense, and he's contributing a lot more now than I thought he would. I thought we'd see these kind of numbers maybe in his second year. but OKC is really, they've decided to kind of set him loose and let him get his reps, and I think they're going to be a lot better for it.
And shout out OKC for going on a gamble and Sam Presti for selecting a player like that. When your franchise is in limbo and you have a million draft picks, you can shoot for the fences, and that's what they did, and it's looking like it's paying off because of how, like you said, how versatile he is as far as rebounding the basketball, running the floor, and he sees the game slower. Even though he's a rookie, you can see his IQ when he's making his movements. He's powerful in the pick and roll, and he uses his size. So if he develops that three-pointer, he could be really scary.
There was also a video of him on Twitter getting some girl's number after the game.
Oh, I saw that.
So he's got a good head on his shoulders.
Just like everybody else. Yep.
He's enjoying America. He's enjoying
it. All right. And my guys, and this is going to be boring, but this is my guy. It's been my guy since day one, and injuries has kept him out. This is the number one player drafted overall. Cade Cunningham, to me, his percentages were putrid that first couple weeks coming off the injury. He's figuring it out. And just in the last 7 games, he's had at least 6 assists in all of them. He's had a triple-double in that span. And just before that, he had 25, 8, and 8. And what I see from the eye test that pops out, because his numbers aren't screaming like this is, generational superstar, he's closing out games. Even like in his second game, he had 2 buckets in the final minutes against, Scottie Barnes in Toronto, against Jalen Green in Houston, another rookie, heads up. He had 2 buckets in the last minute and 30 seconds that won them the game. He's got it at the end, and he's still, as far as like takeover mode, he hasn't tapped into that. But defensively too. Defensively, he's so strong. He can really buckle up. It kind of reminds you of, Paolo Banchero with these college kids. It's like, guy's just huge. He just NBA made. And I think that they just have a strong future in that franchise. And then Isaiah Stewart getting into it, the guy that was in his ear the entire time trying to calm him down, being a leader throughout that whole sequence was Cade Cunningham. So I love Cade Cunningham. I'm going to stick with him. What's that? It didn't work, but he was trying his best move. His nose was in it. He didn't back away from the confrontation. So, yeah. I mean, you try to calm down Isaiah Stewart. Jeez.
I wouldn't.
He's a manimal. Yeah. He's a manimal. Yeah. All right.
Did you know he used to box?
Oh that doesn't surprise me. Just look at his
shoulders.
That's
a big old dude to be boxing.
I don't want to go in the ring with him. Although I would love to see him and Precious Achiuwa duke it out a little bit.
Him and OG Kenneth Faried, man. Those might be the scariest dudes ever.
Is Kenneth Faried still in the G League?
I don't think so.
Let's
man,
check this
Kenneth
out.
Faried. That's a man.
I remember
he was the manimal.
I loved Kenneth.
Speaking of, he was the manimal. That was his.
I got
called a casual on Twitter recently. But if you reference Kenneth Faried, that's far from a casual move.
He's playing in Moscow right now, Eric. He's playing in Moscow.
Probably.
And I like to sneak one in at the end. And this is Franz Wagner playing very efficient basketball. And he's dunked on like 3 people. He's shooting like 50%. He's getting you a steal
Get out of
block.
here.
And he's
inconsistent.
He's been wonderful.
He's inconsistent. But
and that's
when he's good. He's good.
He's consistent. Gives you double digits every single night.
No,
he's who the Warriors should have drafted because he would have been perfect in that system. And I think that they are tripping for getting Kuminga over Franz.
They are tripping.
So.
Okay, we're gonna wait. Hold on, we're gonna clip that pretty soon because we're gonna see in 5 years, Kuminga or I don't even know how to say it. Franz Wagner.
He's first team all rookie right now.
Oh, okay.
No,
that's
he's not.
He's first team all rookie right now.
Listen to these 2 stat lines. So his last 2 games he's done well. He's had 15, 5, and 4, and 16, 7, and 4. But the 2 games before that, he had 0 points, 4 boards, and an assist. 3 points, 2 assists, and 0 rebounds. Like he's an inconsistent player right now, which is fine. He's a rookie, but I don't know that he's going to be, some generational player.
I thought he was.
He's definitely not a generational player, but
he was my sleeper in the NBA forward fantasy thing. But I will tell you, he jacks sometimes. Like he takes awful shots. He'll be like 20 seconds in the shot clock, dribbles up, shoots a 3-pointer from 3 feet beyond the line. I'm like, bro, you're not at that level yet.
Yeah, his last 2 games, he had 15, 16, at 5 rebounds, 7 assists for it. I mean, he's contributing all around. But I digress. He's going to be on either the first or second
You and
team
these
rookie.
great White Hope players, man.
Hey, well, he's a little brother too. I'm a little brother. I root for those. Doc can understand. Shout out all the little brothers around the league like LaMelo
Oh wow,
Ball.
it's looking nasty.
here
It's
cooking.
looking nasty in Ann Arbor right now.
Oh, it's a beautiful day out here in Cockeysville, Maryland. How's it looking over there for you, Kev? You back home yet?
I am. It is nice, 55 degrees out here, so I'm kind of freezing.
Wow, that's jacket weather for Cali, huh?
It is.
Look at him. He's got the hood on.
It's cold. It's cold.
Goodness gracious. All right. So some young guys to talk about some old guys. Coaches that you appreciate most and you're super thankful for right now. We're gonna start with Brad because I think he's on the top of the list for three of us.
Yeah. I kind of spoke about it earlier. You know, the Wizards were my pick for most thankful, and you know that would make Wes Unseld the head coach I'm most thankful for. It's pretty phenomenal what he's come in and done. Like I said, I wasn't expecting much from this team at all. I wasn't even expecting them to be competitive. I thought we might even deal Brad Beal this year, but they're competitive enough that, you know, I haven't heard a peep from Brad Beal. It seems like he wants to stay. He wants to get that supermax, and if they're going to be competitive, why not? So I think one of the most surprising things about this Wizards team is that they're 8th in the league right now in defense. That's not something I expected. So we talked about how, you know, the offense has changed from just, you know, give the ball to Brad and everybody stand around and watch him do his thing. They're moving without the ball now. They're passing well. They're playing faster. It's all these little things that make you a competitive team and fun to watch. And on top of that, they're a top 10 defense in the league. So
and they're playing faster in the half court with their sets because they led the league in pace, but it was just a lot of sporadic Russell going up the court, and who knows what's going to happen to. There's so much movement off the ball. Everyone's getting involved. There's an unselfish nature as far as it's concerned, and there's different players finishing every game.
And I don't know if I can give Unseld the credit for this, but they're developing their young guys. Like Denny Avdija has taken a jump this year. I think
you can credit him. I think you can.
Well,
credit
I mean,
him.
he just got here, so I don't know that we can give. But yeah, you know, you might be right.
Even like what you're talking about, the young guy in particular that I'm thinking about is Denny Avdija, who last year he made a defensive mistake. Scottie Brooks is pulling him off the court right away.
That's what I was talking about.
He's second in defensive rating, which is crazy to think about because he was so slew-footed last week. You didn't know what you're going to get from him.
He's playing with confidence, which is not what he was playing with last year. So between that and, you know, Corey Kisper's getting sparse minutes here and there. I like how he's using Trez. I like how he's using Gafford. It'll be interesting to see Thomas Bryant get back into the mix. Maybe I'm really impressed with the job that whole staff has done. So
it is interesting.
Definitely Unseld.
That is something to watch and something that's interesting as far as Thomas Bryant's role, and as well as Rui Hachimura, who we haven't seen as well. And it seems like they have it figured out as far as their rotations are concerned between, you know, Big Gafford and Trez, and then their forward combinations. They seem like they have that figured out. So we'll see how that adjustment is, and that's going to be a big test on Wes Unseld Jr. Doc, is there anything else that stands out about Unseld that has been particularly impressive?
Well, I think the defense, and last year the Wizards were allowing 118 points per game, which was last in the NBA, and they basically had to outscore their opponents. It's like, all right, we're going to allow 124, but we got to score 125, and I don't think that's a good way to play unless you're the Warriors. This year they're allowing 104.7 points per game, and I think they just kind of needed a new voice. Like I was a big Scottie Brooks fan when he got hired, but he didn't really have good rotations. He didn't have good in-game adjustments, and I think he's a coach that probably got the reputation he did and the notoriety based on the talent that he was coaching. And I think when you have a kind of a Wizards team where you don't know if you're going to rebuild, or you're going to go all in, that wasn't the best fit. And I think the players really respect Wes Unseld. And if you want, if you like your coach and want to play for him, and Kevin, I'm not even trying to take a shot at you with this, but we saw with Luke Walton, like he lost the locker room. Like people weren't playing hard for him. It was questionable who he was playing when. So I think if you can have the players behind you, that's going to make you that much of a better coach.
And that piggybacks right into our next opinion. Kev, what are you most thankful for as far as coaching is concerned in the NBA?
I'm thankful that Luke Walton got fired. That's what I'm thankful about because he is terrible, and it was just time. So when you look at what he's done over the last couple of years, he's 68 and 93. He lost the locker room, like Doc talked about. He's completely correct there. And also, they were one of the worst defensive teams the last 2 years. Last season I think they ranked 26th, and then they're 26th in defensive rebounding, 29th in points in the paint. And it's not like they don't have talent because they got guys. And then you also saw the one thing you saw was De'Aaron Fox. He took a step back this year. And I think one of the areas of concern was, hey, was it Luke? Was it, what's going on with that offense there? And, it was time for him to go because he is not a player's coach. And in my opinion, coaching is pretty overrated as far as, especially NBA. Like you see these guys get kind of moved around because really it's the talent. It's the little things, it's the intangible things that matter more. And Walt never had that intangible thing. Like he didn't have that motivation intangible. He didn't have that stuff that he can lead men. He never really had that, in my opinion. So it'll be interesting. I like Galvin Gentry. He's an okay coach. We got to get someone in there. Obviously, we haven't made the playoffs since 2006, and we've had 10 head coaches since then. So that's a tough sledding. I think that the Kings are probably the worst franchise in sports. Or the
Lions.
The Lions take the cake, but they're in the conversation.
Kings are pretty bad too. Kings are up there. NBA though, they're the worst franchise in the NBA, right?
Maybe. I can't think of a worse. Magic are bad. Minnesota's up there. I think it was interesting. Like Luke Walton went on that winning streak a couple of years ago when Steve Kerr had to miss the beginning of the season after getting the back epidurals. Uh-huh. And they started out the year like on a 13-game winning streak or something. Like
I think he went like 33-0 or something like that.
He did.
Yeah, like is it crazy that like that little coaching period where he had a talented team bought him this much time in the NBA as a head coach?
Well, the ties, the GM, they got him from Golden State, so there was ties in there, and they thought he
couldn't even run with LeBron.
Kevin, is Vivek still running the team?
No, he doesn't run the team anymore.
Okay, he was awful.
Divac.
Thank you. I was there. I knew that. Yeah, I saw that firsthand. Especially when he traded a first for our boy from the Sixers. I forget his name. The Great White Hope. Coach Lewis probably remembers him. Stauskas.
Spencer Hawes.
Oh, Nick Stauskas from Michigan.
Stauskas, yeah.
The lefty,
that was a terrible.
I did. See
Willie Cauley-Stein was a bad pick.
Thomas Robinson.
Oh man, Thomas Robinson was like third overall, wasn't he?
I loved the Thomas Robinson pick because I liked him as a player, but I was like, this you don't just go from sucking or being okay your first 3 years in college to averaging like 14 and 8 and expecting like this next leap.
He was so good.
That's enough Kings talk.
Yeah, that's way too much.
We don't want to lose the audience.
You got to move on now.
So I did mention the coach Eric Spoelstra that is fifth in the league with the wins right now, but I'd be remiss if we didn't drop this name on the way out because I think he might be on his way out. He's 20 wins away from being the most winningest head coach of all time. That's Greg Popovich, a man who just won gold in the Olympics, and I was questioning his tactics coming in, especially dropping two in the exhibition and losing against France, and like, has he completely lost his touch? I think this is one of his last hurrahs. I don't know if he's a guy that wants the tour on the way out, but I just have this sneaky feeling that this might be it. And if he doesn't get to number one all time, you might see him come back next year just to grab that, because you would hate to be 2 wins away from the winningest coach of all time. But any Greg Pop love as we move on?
The Wizards haven't won in San Antonio since 1999. It's the longest losing streak of a team playing at one team currently in the NBA, and they play there Monday. So I'd really be grateful for Greg Popovich if he allowed us to get a win. Yeah, like literally, like watching it year after year. I circle it on my calendar. Like we never won there in the Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, Tim Duncan era. Didn't beat him at all with Kawhi. Just like as a fan, let me just see one victory in San Antonio. I don't ask for much.
That's crazy. All right, so we'll move on. I remember you throwing that stat out last year, and I was just like, I can't believe
they did a graphic about the last time the Wizards won in San Antonio. It's like, oh, Bill Clinton was president. Gas was like $1.11 per gallon. Like all these crazy stats are like, wow, that much has changed.
Sodas were a quarter. So we want to give shout outs to some announcers and analysts, people that help us out, people that we, have some trust into as far as their opinion is concerned. And there's reasons why they are called professionals. Doc, I want you to go with the new guy who's killing Stephen A every day.
I was gonna say, so I saw this tweet out there. Has anyone done a 180 more in terms of not being likable, when he was at Duke, to being like super likable?
Come on.
As says Kevin as he's wearing his Duke sweatshirt. But JJ Reddick, I mean, if you've listened to his podcast, The Old Man in the Three, I think he does the great job kind of speaking from that former player perspective. And he's a recently retired player as well. And then, as you mentioned, like going up mano to mano with Stephen A. Smith, him saying, well, you don't know. Yeah, you're right. I don't know as an analyst. I know as a player. And kind of shutting Stephen A. up. And he knows what he's talking about. And he's not afraid
I don't like what he's doing. He's missing the point.
Here's the thing. He's not afraid to take shots when it's like, so he's saying it about Zion, like, look, he's got to get in shape. It's not a secret. He's over 300 pounds. He has a bad diet. Like, that's the things we want to hear as fans, as a former teammate saying like, okay, it's not just us that are crazy. Like, we know this in the team as well.
The only thing I don't like about what JJ is doing is that, like, First Take is an entertainment debate show. Like, some of the stuff that Stephen A. does is entirely for debate purposes. Like, it's not that, he agrees with everything he's saying. He's trying to be entertaining. So I feel like JJ Reddick comes a little too hard, comes a little too hot into that debate show and like attacking, Stephen A.'s intelligence and like whether or not he should be respected and stuff like that. So that's
an
like
interesting take.
Because like one of the things he didn't do with like he got rid of Max Kellerman because Max Kellerman was trying to do nuance and he was trying to be right all the time.
Yeah.
But Skip and Stephen A, like, they were just trying to debate. They were trying to have fireworks. They were just trying to, be entertaining. Like, it's not necessarily them trying to be right all the time. So like, like Skip would always come at LeBron. Like, he didn't need to do that. He probably doesn't even really care about LeBron like that, but he knows it's something that gets people watching and it's something that gets people talking. So he does it.
But as a former player like JJ is, don't you think he's like, there's a certain point where he's fed
Absolutely.
up hearing his nonsense for the last 20 years.
100%.
So he has all this build up like crap that he's been given the Clippers and anywhere that JJ has his whole career. So he's got ammo.
But
he's just waiting.
But I would have thought that like he would have been in on the, sort of how everything works. Like, I would have thought he would like play along a little more instead of, let all that, anger from just having to sit back and listen to people talk shit about you for your whole career.
I feel like he tried that the first couple appearances and he was kind of falling back a little bit, but then he was like, nah, I'm going all the way in. I'm doing all this homework.
He's getting rewarded for it too, because like he's always trending on Twitter after a performance. So
for somebody in the limelight to somebody maybe not as well known, Brad, who's somebody that you're looking at and you want to send some flowers to?
Yeah, man. So there's this YouTube channel called Hoop Vision 68. It's a group of guys, or maybe one guy, I'm not even sure. They really dive into the X's and O's of, the NBA, the NCAA, and just, what's been going on in basketball. And they really just break things down for you. I sent something to the group chat just recently, which was a team that doesn't dribble. Like, they essentially run like a modified Princeton offense to where it's just nothing but cutting and slashing and passing. And they actually have statistics of like who sets the most ball screens and who dribbles most in a possession, like all of that. And this team is it's their first or second year in the Division I, and they're still killing it. Like, so it's really interesting. If you're into the X's and O's and you're not just looking at box scores and stuff like that, this is really going to teach you a lot.
Yeah, shout out Hoop Vision. I like Hoop Intellect on YouTube. He does a lot of prospect breakdown. Dude's name is Keandre, and he's sharp as a whip. I definitely watch his videos too when I'm looking at my college prospects. I really respect his basketball opinion. He's definitely got it that played, and he's on the come up. So shout out Keandre and Hoop Intellect, since we're giving the little guy a little shout out here. Kev, you got any love for anybody out there?
No, they all suck. I don't like the announcers. I don't like. I don't even listen to games anymore with like the TV sound on.
The man who mutes the television while watching the game.
They all suck.
Wow, 55 minutes in, and it took us that long to get a boomer take from Kevin. I love it.
They all suck. They're not good. I don't even know how people watch the Stephen A. show and all that stuff. Like it's just for clicks. It's not fun. Like I don't know.
I think that's hilarious because Kev just spent an hour and 15 minutes thanking and appreciating those fantasy creators on our on his own Thanksgiving special. It kind of helped me spark the idea of today's pod. But it's so funny he's giving so many flowers to the little guys, but the big guys that actually have the jobs. It's like, you know,
they don't deserve it.
No. And for me, I think in light of all the college basketball from the last week, Dickie V coming back, he had cancer. He's 81. Just hearing his voice, it made you appreciate and it kind of give you memories of everything. And I was watching the Kansas game yesterday, and he called the buzzer beater as they lost to Dayton on a running left-handed hook from the elbow.
It hit every part of the rim.
And you got McCormick underneath almost touching it for a goaltend, but his call on it was everything. So Dickie V, who knows how long he'll be with us, but you got to appreciate and give him flowers while he's still here. And yeah, he's a little bit out of touch sometimes, but all his phrases, they'll live in infamy. He's like Stuart Scott, and he has his own creative lingo that, as a basketball fan, that type of banter is something that gets a rise out of people. And I really just wanted to give Dickie V a shout out here. All right, moving on. What's one thing you're thankful Commissioner Silver's done? For me, it's the offensive foul rules. Like, I'm so glad that people aren't bum rushing into people to get to the free throw line. I don't think that was basketball. I don't think that they should have gotten rewarded for that. I think it took too long. But hey, they're implementing it. And guess what? James Harden isn't running to 3 people and going to the free throw line 20 times a game. It's affected some people. But as a basketball player, you have to learn to adjust. And I like those foul rules as far as commissioners concerned. Anybody else want to give him a shout out? So one of the best commissioners in sports.
I like that he moved the season up. Like, we were kind of waiting, like, all right, end of October, like, all right, Halloween is maybe when it starts. And,
yeah,
you get a little anxious, like, if your football team's out of it, or, NFL is only once a week, or, 2-3 days a week. But now that we have NBA start mid-October, it's like it's that little bit of gap period. So I just like it starting earlier and kind of spacing out the games, less back-to-backs, hopefully less player rest.
I saw that too. He tinkered the schedule. Most teams have like 4 games in a week, but at a certain point, there were some teams that had 5, some teams that had 2. So definitely shout outs as far as his scheduling is concerned. Moving the season up. Now we're in the full season. It's you kind of see how he rushed everything last year, but I guess it's working out. You're seeing less injuries this season. So shout out Commissioner Silver, one of the best in sports. Yesterday was Black Friday, and we're going to talk about some Black Friday deals. Who had the best transaction, either sign, either trade in the offseason that's paying off? Kev?
Yeah, I went for something that didn't happen, but not getting rid of Bradley Beal. I think I know some people have talked about like maybe moving him and rebuilding and through that. But what we've seen is, Doc is one of those guys. But I mean, I think it was a valid assumption though. Like, hey, he might not want to be there with the way the team is going. Like, I don't hate on anybody except for Doc about it. Like that was a legit option there. But I think them not moving him, rebuilding around him, doing those type of things, it's good for Wizards fans who need it. They need some love out there, and I think it's great. I think that was the move of the offseason. Sometimes I think we get enamored by the moves when it's reality. It could just be, hey, the guy, you stay with them and you work and you build around and you do those things. Yeah. Especially in the NBA. We know the NBA is very move friendly, but this one was a good one for them.
And Spencer Dinwiddie sign might be one of the best sneaky great signs for a good value. It's a guy that tore his ACL and now fits perfectly with the Brad Beal. He can play off the ball. He can play on the ball. And we saw Tommy Shepard getting the extension. It's good to see that as Wizards fan, to see your general manager making some good decisions, not only with the coaching hire, but turning an untradeable contract in John Wall, flipping it for Westbrook, then getting 3 guys that are contributing to winning, cleaning up the books a little bit. So, shout out to the Wizards who are 1 and 2 as far as offseason moves are concerned. I'm let Brad take the lead on probably the team that made the biggest jump in offseason.
Yeah, for me, that's Chicago. And I thought, what they did in getting DeMar DeRozan really changed their whole outlook. It did a lot of things and, making Zach LaVine have better shot selection. He gets better defensive matchups because DeRozan's a guy that can get you 20 in his sleep. And he's done, a great job himself at getting better. He's shooting the 3 ball better. He's playing great defense as always. Between him, LaVine, Vucevic, they have a very formidable team. They got a Kobe White coming off the bench. Like, they have a very interesting team. I don't know if they're gonna, come out of the East, but you can't overlook them anymore. So it's pretty interesting to see how they've turned their entire outlook around just by making 2 moves in Vooch and DeRozan.
Hey, and they're second in the Eastern Conference right now, currently, and nobody really pegged that. You would think maybe bottom of the Eastern Conference with the new. You just wanted to see it. A lot of people didn't like the whole LaVine and DeRozan fit. DeRozan's had a resurgence, so shout out him. Doc, the Bulls were your team as well. Did you see anything else that they've done in the offseason that make them the Black Friday deal special?
Well, I think they got a bunch of players at a discount. The DeRozan, the Spurs are going through a rebuild. Lonzo, it's like he kind of didn't really have a home. Like, Lakers giving up on him. Pelicans, as we've saw, have a bunch of contracts committed to other people. And, they've kind of been wavering that, 500-ish range, a little bit below. They trade for Vucevic last season. They say, look, like, we're going to surround LaVine with some talent. I actually think the best move was getting rid of Russ, and it's kind of a 2-part thing because obviously the Wizards have John Wall on his 40-ish mil year contract, so they give that in the first and they flip it for Russ, who at this point is probably a better player in his career, and then they're able to move that contract and flip it for KCP, who has 27 mil left between this year and next year, Kuzma, who has 3-year 39, which is very, very fair, and Montrezl Harrell on the last year of his contract, which you could use as a trade piece. So not only are you trading one player for depth, but you're getting out of that bad contract as well. So he didn't have an easy job, but I think, as appealing as Russ is as a superstar, and he does great for the community, and he's fun to watch, and he's box office, they improved their team a lot getting rid of him. And I think the Lakers were probably the only team that would have taken on that contract.
And you think of what Houston has done. They just had Russell Westbrook and James Harden. And what do they have in return for that? They don't really have much as far as, you're giving up to.
You're talking about Houston?
Yeah, I'm talking about Houston. They did not get it enough for James Harden. And for Houston, they have John Wall, who's not even playing. That's what they got for. Well, that's who they got. And the Wizards are in the playoffs. And they're third in the playoffs. They didn't get all that from that trade. They also neglected a Jarrett Allen. They were like, nah, we don't even want that part of the piece. We're going to send him to Cleveland for a first-round pick. Houston messed this whole thing up.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with Houston was they didn't trade Harden soon. Like, when Harden, it's more of a players' league now where players like, yeah, I don't want to play. Like, the ultimate leverage you have is to withhold your services or to come out public and say, like, yeah, I don't want to do it. And when Harden is out partying or when he's like, yeah, I don't really want to be with the team, it's like, okay, I know I have to move him at some point. So you're going to get less offers. I think when Russ wanted out, they should have just tried to get rid of Harden right then and there. I know it probably wasn't the popular thing, but you got to trade someone too early to get more value rather than too late.
Houston's loaded with talent. Like, it's not Houston's fault that, for whatever reason, they're not playing John Wall. Like, KPJ he's playing incredible. Jalen Green is going to be a superstar. They have Chris Wood. Şengün is playing incredible. Like, this team is loaded with talent, young talent.
They should get rid of Chris. They should get rid of Chris Wood though. Just go full rebuild, full young talent. He's 26, got 2 years.
I don't hate that.
He's having a bad year, and he's showing
not having an awful year.
Huh?
He's not having a bad year.
Yeah, I don't know.
He is according to his standard, and He
What do you
plays a
mean
little
his standard?
soft.
He just came onto the scene like last year.
Yeah,
He
he's
was better
averaging
didn't even
last
know his
year. He's
name.
not a leader. He's the veteran on that team. That team has won one game.
He's a
And
veteran at
and
26.
he's
Well,
getting
of course he's the
he's getting
veteran.
punked a little bit.
He's 26.
He's going out there pouting. He's talking about he's not getting,
They're
I guess,
2
the
and
necessary
16,
shots.
man.
They're
He's-
bad.
He's
And-
underpaid on a bad team and expected to be the veteran at 26 when John Wall
That's,
and
yeah. I
Eric
don't know
Gordon,
what
the
you're
only people that are
expecting,
It's
older
how
are
you
running
handle
on the
yourself.
court.
He's not handling that veteran. He's supposed to be the best player on that team, and
He is.
and he's following the lead of the little guys. Like 2 nights ago, he had 4 points on
Okay,
6
and
shots.
Last night he had 16,
This is my
10, and 6.
this is my he's given up. Yeah, but last year he averaged 21. This year he's averaging 15. You're
They're
not
2 and
telling me he
16.
hasn't dropped off a little bit. It's the same amount of burn he's getting. Last year he was shooting 51%. He's shooting 44% this year. You know
but I
why?
think he was- I think-
Because
Last year he had a point guard that was feeding him the ball. This year it's KPJ. Who's
I was
learning
going
how
to
to
say,
play
I
point
think he
guard.
had
he's
more
giving the ball to
talent
the
surrounding
other
him.
team more than to his own, and
He's
they're
learning how
not
to play
getting in the
point
rock.
guard. And he just had 14, 9, and 6 yesterday. Like
That's not great.
you're not being fair.
The guy that was a fringe all-star last year before he got injured, and a lot of people had them on the ballot, to a guy that is kind of a middler in comparison. And
15 and
you're-
a half and
you're
11 ain't a
expecting-
middler.
You're expecting a jump
You're
up
talking crazy right now. 15 and 11 is a middler.
compared to what you just did last season. This is the benchmark. I
I'm
averaged.
gonna look up
20 and
his
10
stats from last season. I want Kevin's opinion on this. Kevin's just smiling in the back.
I don't know. I think I'm in between all you guys. I don't really have a huge opinion on this one. It is what it is to me. I understand the coach's point, but he's not a middler.
I mean,
That's
he
not
he
fair.
averaged 21 and 9 last year. So the scoring down a little bit. He shot 51%. So
Down 6 points. He did a
hard.
reverse of
Yeah,
what
but he
Tyler
doesn't have
Herro
a point
did.
guard,
If
dude.
Tyler Herro went from 21 to 15, we would all be losing our shit. This is
Yeah,
what
Who?
actually happened to Christian
I would not
Wood.
be. I was telling you Tyler Hero was going to be just fine last year.
He's
You were
averaging
saying
more
he's-
rebounds, more assists. He's shooting a little bit worse from the field. He's actually
That's-
taking less shots though.
He's
took
averaging
15 last year.
2.4
Exactly.
assists, more assists from 1.7. Like that's not
He's a
even
center,
that's not even an
dude.
indicator. What are we
Yeah,
doing
why
here?
are we even looking at assists for a center? Like he's doing just fine.
You look at assists for Jokic. You gotta
Yeah,
get
that's
everyone
fair.
involved if you're center.
Yeah, but you're talking about a player that's 26, who's supposed to be entering their prime, and you have a big backstep. And I think that his
It's not
maturity
he's
in this
on,
all
he's on Houston.
his on-court demeanor suck. He's giving up on his team. I'm just saying,
They're
like,
2 and
before
16.
we
What are
get
you
my
out of
talking
here,
plan
about?
wasn't to bash Christian Wood.
Can we think of a team that Christian Wood should go to that would benefit?
Yes, I mean a lot of teams that he
Any other team?
Like realistically, that can fit his contract and has some decent assets for return. Like what about Boston?
OKC.
I don't think OKC makes sense trading for him. Like that's Houston 2.0.
Why? He's only
right
20.
there.
He's only 26. They'd have Shea. They'd have Giddey. They'd have Chris Wood. That's like a nice little core to see. How does that develop together?
I wonder how he
That's
feels that you guys keep calling him Chris Wood. He would call you casuals.
He is. He
Oh,
does
why?
call
Is he-
people casual.
He's a Christian Wood. He's not Chris Wood.
All right.
I mean, Chris Wood
I'm
is
just
his-
saying, like,
Chris
if
Wood
anybody
is
that's
his-
going to give you,
That's his social media handles. Chris Wood _5.
Exactly.
all
Yeah,
right, well, if you
I
message
call
him, don't
Chris
say,
Wood.
"Hey, Chris," and then we want to get you on. 'Cause
Hey,
I don't
I'll
think
s-
he's gonna want to. He's not gonna want to get you
I'll
on.
tell you what. If we have Chris Wood on, you're not invited. I'll tell you that much. You're not
I'll
allowed
tell you
to
right
speak
now.
to.
I'd like to see Chris Wood at the Mavericks. That's where I would like to see.
That's a good one.
I like that.
But Kristaps is playing pretty well lately.
He's playing okay. He's playing a little bit better.
especially.
Oh,
with,
he's playing.
Luka out.
He's playing very well. He's having a very good season. I think that has to do with Jason Kidd, who somebody I wanted to give flowers earlier. I think that he's got them playing better all around basketball. Porzingis has said glowing things about Luka. One about him in the clutch. It's just unbelievable. Like, you weren't hearing him sprinkle praise to Luka last year. I mean, we thought that relationship was tarnished a bit, but you can see like they're bros a little bit. I think that J Kidd has to do with that relationship being mended a little bit. I think he should deserve some credit. And they're like, what, 4th, 5th in the Western Conference?
Coach, it's looking like I was wrong about Ohio State spanking Michigan. It's already 7-0.
College basketball, game of runs. But I do got
No,
Michigan.
football, college football.
Oh, Who cares about college football? This is triple play fantasy basketball. I think this isn't Kevin Debbie takes. All right. Bryce Love looks good though. I give him my nod. That's my one. That's my one college football take right there.
He does.
Bryce
look
Love
good.
is
Bryce,
nice.
Bryce Young? Is that who you're talking about?
Yeah, him too.
Oh, okay. Bryce Love played a long time ago. Coach.
All right. So you heard the voice. Kevin, you got anything plug on our way out?
No, just obviously YouTube channel. You get there, subscribe for us if you haven't already, and be there. And then also fantasy points, 21 triple 10. If you sign up, you get 50% off.
Doc.
Just keep on checking out the YouTube channel. We're putting out a lot of content that doesn't necessarily make the cut for podcasts. We got good NBA shorts, some good debates, and we're gonna just put a lot of stuff out there. So make sure you're subscribed, because that way you're gonna get notifications whenever something new comes out. We got about one video a day, and shout out to Art, who did World Championship chess preview.
Brad.
Yep, YouTube channel where Johnny and I are gonna have some movie minutes dropping soon. And I also have NBA content and NFL content on fantraxhq.com if you wanted to check that out.
Wonderful. And fellas, feel free to chime in. I appreciate all of you. This is like the funnest thing for me. It's hang out with my buddies and talk some hoop and get into some arguments. And this just shows why I missed you guys. So I appreciate each and one of you. And I do want to give shout outs to, we've grown in the last year and a half. And I wanted to give shout outs to some of our former guests, some of our interviewees that we've had, starting with Mr. Chibbs, Kenny Anderson. We spoke about Matt Sullivan that Brad had on, author of Can't Knock the Hustle, talking about, the Brooklyn Nets, but he's got some new work coming on. Maybe we can get him as a returning guest in the future. Doc held it down with the J.R. Brimmer, Craig Smith interviews, which both awesome talks. Josh Boone gave us more than enough time and gave us some really great intel, not only about his Husky days, but his overseas play. Eric Strickland, one of the OGs, came on, blessed us. We had several OGs. Enos Watley, Maryland basketball assistant coach. Danny Manning, Chick Hernandez needs a shout out. Damian Wilkins, J.R. Giddens, Lynn Elmore, Scott Pollard, Ricky Pierce. I'm laughing as I'm saying these because it's unbelievable that we've had all of these amazing interviews. Steve Buckhants, Adrian Dantley. And our guests need shout outs as well, including Justin Rowan from the Chase Down Pod, Wizards Insider Ben Mehik, Nick Whalen of RotoWire just came on, was fabulous with Brad and Doc. His knowledge is, second to none. Zach Enshu, Nick Script, P2W Fantasy, one of our favorites here at Triple Play Fantasy, just a genuine, awesome person who knows his football. He knows all the sports, honestly. And his Jersey game, second to none. 14-year Wizards team assistant, Northwest head coach Chase Ryder has come back several times now, and he and I will be doing a Wizards quarter season recap in a little bit. DFS guru Jamie Calandro, Jade Auxiliary Things Johnson, Shay Vassar of Hardcore Honeys podcast, Manny Chagupa of the Back Row Redskins Show podcast, Shannon Walsh of Belly Up Sports, Metronomy Music, Theo, Mixed by Tweez, Joseph's Guardians of Sports, Anthony Brown, Super Mario Hoops, Justin Bruni, who always gives us love. That's at To the Hizzy, Windsor Mill head coach Adam Berkowitz, Triple Plays Fantasy Owned, D Mendy, Eric Mincer, Art Little Cheesecake, all of the 20 plus members of Triple Play Fantasy. We want to give all of you shout outs. We noticed that, hey, 80% of you that watch us have not clicked subscribe. We subscribe back. We do appreciate, we appreciate the comments, the likes, whether they're positive, negative, or neutral in between. We will get back to you. So from the whole Triple Play Fantasy team, that's all we have. Have a wonderful holiday weekend, and we'll see you.